And thank you to our sponsor, JHW Enterprises, your trusted partner in full service property management across Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland, and Texas. Maximizing returns, maintaining excellence. Learn more at jhwenterprise.com. 10 years of experience in banking, Keisha brings a unique blend of financial expertise and mindset mastery to the table. In this episode, we'll talk about how her corporate background shaped her leadership style, the connection between money and mindset, and what it takes to lead with purpose in today's business world. So whether you're growing a team or managing a property or trying to level up personally, this one's for you. So, hey, Ms. Keisha, so you spent a decade in banking. What lessons did that industry teach you about leadership and discipline that you now apply to your consulting work?
I think the biggest thing it taught me about leadership is that you can't do it alone. When I was running my own branch, I am only as good as my team. And so it's important to have a team and to realize that you can't be successful alone. I think the discipline comes in, to be perfectly honest with you, with time management. So when I worked in a leadership role in banking, my biggest hindrance at the beginning of my career was not properly managing my time. Time is our biggest gift. And when we can get to a place of being disciplined around how we manage our time, I think that drives success at the end of the day. So it's twofold. It's realizing that you can't do it alone, that you need a team, you need community, you need network. And then the second side would be recognizing the need to truly be disciplined around how you manage your time.
That's so good. That's something I struggle with. I'm not even gonna lie. That's what I'm trying to
still struggle.
I'm teaching myself discipline, and like in anything that I do, like whether it's working out or studying, and it's like it really can affect you. Like the older I get, the more I realize it's so important to be disciplined. So that's so good.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to master. And I think that self-awareness is the first thing. When you realize that you're putting things off, you have to start asking yourself, why am I putting them off? Because sometimes it's avoidance, right? So I think, look, I still struggle. I have not mastered it. But I think that, when you find that you're procrastinating, putting important things off, it's time to self-evaluate and truly ask, why am I putting these important things off and allowing myself to get wrapped up in the mundane? Because the mundane is really not going to move the needle.
Wow, yeah, that's so good. Okay, next question. These are good. I'm writing this down, Miss Keisha. I need you to know I have my little notepad right here.
But look, I'm learning as I'm speaking. So listen, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it.
No, you're great. Our next question is, so how did your time in banking shape your approach to self-development, especially when navigating high-pressure environments?
So my career in banking, I started as a teller, and then I was a banker, and I was an assistant manager, and then finally a branch manager. So I actually followed the full path. I think self-development became obvious to me when I got my own branch, and you start dealing with irate customers. I will call that out as a thing. That is a difficult thing. In banking, I'm sorry, my voice. In banking, when we have irate customers, that is very difficult. And so when I was a teller, I get an irate customer, I call my manager. I don't deal with that crazy person. The same was true when I was a banker. You get a crazy irate customer, you call your manager. You don't deal with that craziness. And I think the self-development piece came in when I started to realize, when I had my own branch, like the buck stopped with me. So you have this crazy irate customer, and you have to figure out how to navigate that difficult conversation without becoming emotionally charged. I think that was my biggest first lesson in self-development, because when people are coming at you, it's human nature to try to defend yourself and to become emotionally charged. And my first self-development was managing my emotions under those conditions. So that was the first thing that I would say came to mind in the realm of self-development. What was the second part of your question?
That was actually pretty much it. I just said, especially navigating high pressure environments. So
yeah.
You answered
So the other high pressure side was the buck also stopped with me with meeting our goals, because banking became very sales focused. We had monthly goals. Not only did I have to meet my branch's monthly goals, I also had to show that my branch was profitable. So it was literally like running my own business. So we have these monthly goals we have to meet. I have to ensure that I am running a profitable branch. So that part was very difficult, because then you have to be very tuned in to how you are earning money as a branch, how you are expending money and expenditures, and ensure that you have certain efficiencies in place that drives profitability. So it was a huge thing to manage, even though I had a master's degree. I'm not a master's degree, a business degree. I had a bachelor's in business degree. I can't say that it prepared me for that. So a lot of
Mm.
that was about me developing in those areas to really drive productivity for my branch.
Ooh, that's interesting. And just out of curiosity, like, I guess like what financial principles from that banking background would you think business owners or team leaders should be using? Do you have one by chance?
I actually do, and I'm going to make it really simple.
Okay.
So I want you to think of business the same way you think of your personal. So
Okay.
when you think of if you are just a working class person, you earn a payroll check, right? So that's
Right.
your income. So you get that payroll check. When you get that payroll check, the good principle would be to pay yourself first, right? So we pay ourselves first by maybe contributing to retirement or putting money in a savings account.
Yeah.
Then you move to paying your bills, and that's the expenses that you have as an individual, right? So once you pay your bills, you're left with what we would call disposable income, money that's at your disposal. Now, how you decide to use that disposable income is really going to drive everything for you financially, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, the same is true in business. So in business, you generate income, so you have an income producing business, you have expenses that you have to pay, and
Mhm.
then you may be left with disposable income. So as individuals, we've all probably had moments in our life where we lived above our means, right? So you're living a lifestyle that is over and above technically what your disposable income is. And as individuals, when we live a lifestyle that's above our means, look, I know this is a pain point. Money is a pain point for people. So
Yeah.
as individuals, when we live a lifestyle that's above our means, basically what we're doing is we're living beyond our disposable income, and that comes with consequence. To
Yeah.
me, the same is true in business. So in business, if we're growing too fast, that's actually living above the means of what our business is producing, right?
Yeah.
And it can cause you to lose your business. So you have to be mindful of that. I think on a personal side, a best practice would be knowing your numbers. Like, you need to know how much income you have coming in, how much money you're paying yourself, how much money you have going out. You need to know your numbers. The same is true in business. You have to know your numbers, and you have to move in a way that's going to put you down a path of growth and success. But if you're moving in a way where you are trying to support a lifestyle that you can't afford, you know what that does. The same is true in business. If you're moving in a way that's growing beyond what you actually can grow, it leads you down the same path.
Wow. Yeah, that's so good. That's literally me, Miss Keisha. It
Listen, you're
hurts
not
to know.
alone. I never want to paint myself as perfect. I am not. I know these things. Do I
Yeah.
actually apply it all the time? No, I do
Right.
not.
Right. I'm in the moment, like I'm looking into like what I should invest my money in,
Yes.
because I'll be honest, I don't have a 401k now, and I definitely know I should start. But that's kind of what I'm thinking of, like, what do I do with my extra cash instead of letting it sit in a savings account? I'm trying to learn on what I can invest in, and so it's really. Do you
So do you
recommend
do you do
anything?
you of course, I
I
have
don't.
opinions.
101?
My opinions never stop. Listen, I will always be a banker at heart. I started in banking when I was 18 years old. It is my
Wow.
passion and
Yeah.
it is a part of me.
Mm,
So you start small, Amber.
mm,
Oftentimes people think that saving for their retirement is this huge thing that I can't even do. But I promise you, you can. I
mm,
promise you can. So let me try to make it simple. So number one, if you have a job that offers unpaid plans where they deduct the money from your payroll check, if that is where you are,
mhm.
take advantage of that. And the reason you should take advantage of that is because that is pre-tax money. So it's almost like killing two birds with one stone. If you work for a company that allows you to draft money from your payroll to put it in a 401, that should be your plan. Start there. You're not going to even feel it. The reason you're not going to feel it is because the government is only taxing what you made after that deduction. So not only are you saving money for your retirement, you're saving money in taxes. So it's a two-way benefit.
Ooh,
So I
okay.
always say start there. We live in times where people think that they can get rich quick. You cannot get rich quick.
Mm.
So the smartest approach would be to take advantage of 401k plans by your employer, especially if they have a match, okay? Because if
Oh,
they match you, so some employers may match you the first 6%. So they're basically saying if you put up 6%, we'll match your 6%. That's free money. So
yeah.
if you do it that way, you're getting free money from your employer, you're getting the tax benefit of doing it, okay? So to me, that is the way to go.
Yeah.
All right. So
Fair
that's
enough.
number one. If you don't work for a company or you don't have benefits where they will debit your payroll to put into a 401k plan, the second thing that I would recommend is now you have to do it yourself. So now you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's also not as hard as you think. So in that situation, you can do it yourself, slowly but surely. So like you're saying, you are growing your savings account. What I would encourage you to look into is government maximums, or you can talk to even your bank. Because when I worked in banking, we would do it. Like,
Mm.
how much can I contribute? The max is usually somewhere around $5,000 a year. And I know $5,000 a year sounds like a lot because for some people it is a lot. You don't have to do $5,000 a year. You
Yeah.
can do $100 a month to start,
Yeah.
$25 a week. We spend that at Chick-fil-A.
True. True.
Yeah,
That is so
so
true.
if you can get in the habit of $100 a month, $50 a month that you are contributing to a retirement plan and you can do it at any bank, that can be your start. And sometimes it can even serve as a tax write-off when you do your taxes at the end of the year. Yes, sometimes, depending on the type of vehicle you select, but your banker should be able to walk you through that. So,
Yeah.
yes, that you don't have to figure out the stock market to save for your retirement. To me, you just need to take advantage of investments for retirement purposes. Now, once you have invested for retirement purposes, now you can move into investing just to invest and to generate additional income for yourself. But to me, the first step is you have to invest for your retirement first. And that's simple.
Yeah. That's so good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I wrote that down. I'm writing everything down.
Oh,
I just
goodness.
wanted to ask, so you came from your structured 9 to 5 in banking, right? So how did that go into your business? Like, how did that turn into like owning your own consulting brand?
That
And
is
what
such a
mind
long story.
is it? We got
But
time.
go ahead,
What
finish your
mindset?
question. Finish
What
your
mindset
question.
had to shift? You know what I mean?
Okay. Hmm. All right, so I'm gonna try to make a long story short. So I was a branch manager at a bank, and I've always had a passion for training and development. So as a branch manager, they started having me facilitate banking one-on-one classes for new hires. And then the company, the bank I was working for, they partnered with a nonprofit. They had me doing financial literacy classes for women. And when I would do these classes, Amber, it made my heart smile. Like I remember feeling like, wow, I would do this for free. Like I loved it that much. I loved doing these classes. So
Mm.
I decided to inquire with my training and development department at the bank I was working for. How can I just transfer into training and development? Because this is truly my passion. This is where it got funny. So at that moment, they were no longer hiring trainers internally. Everything was being outsourced. So the manager was like, we don't even hire trainers internally anymore. We outsource, we third party, we contracted out to this company. You would basically have to leave us being an employee, become an independent contractor, and I can recommend you to this company who would then put you on our contract. And I'm like, what in the world? So I have to leave the safety of a 9 to 5 to venture out on my own just to do what I'm passionate about. It was a hard, hard move for me because I was single. I had a house, I had bills, and it was in 2009. So it was during the recession time where we had the real estate crisis and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I took a leap of faith. I'm being perfectly honest with you. I am spiritual, so I kept praying about it, and God spoke to me. And to be perfectly honest with you, He did speak to me. He said, "If fear is the only reason you are not pursuing this opportunity, then that's not good enough."
Wow, that's so
That's
good.
what I heard from God.
Yeah.
And I trusted God. I put in a notice at my job as a branch manager. I started my business, became an independent contractor, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's so good, so inspiring.
So the mindset shift that you were asking about, it had to be a shift of recognizing that you are in control of your own destiny. And if you put that in the hands of a job, then you are remiss. Because at the end of the day, you have to be bold enough, courageous enough to take a risk when you're at this fork in the road, right? And be willing to step out on faith and do something different to see what the journey is ahead. But if you play it safe, like I could have easily played it safe,
Yeah.
kept a job that I felt was secure, but it wouldn't have brought me to where I am now.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good. And sometimes fear can hold us back from like that
Yes.
one little thing. I think that's like the life of entrepreneurs. Like you
Mhm.
sometimes have to walk out on that leap of faith. So
Yeah. A true
completely.
entrepreneur is a risk taker. When I earned my business degree, that's what I learned. A true entrepreneur is a risk taker by nature. And sometimes we have to cultivate that because that doesn't come natural to us. So we may want to be entrepreneurs, but we are risk averse. And if you are a true entrepreneur, you have to be able to step outside of your comfort zone and become a risk taker because you're not gonna accomplish anything if you're not willing to take a risk and
That's
bet
true.
on yourself.
That's so true. That's what I'm learning too. As for my little side business, it's like, okay, do we really need to do this? And I got to make sure I look at my numbers because I'm not a number girl. I'm very much on a faith girl. I'm like, let's just do it.
Yes, but you
But
got to
I'm
know your
learning, like I
numbers.
said, to discipline myself and to look at the numbers too, so I don't just do crazy things.
And tell me, like, what do you want to be? Like, what do you really want to be? And why do you want to be that thing? So I had my two brainiacs, which is my 18-year-old daughter and my 17-year-old goddaughter. They do
Mhm.
extremely well in school. They're very practical. So they came up with this practical thing, but I know them and I know they have this creative side to them
Of
that they
course.
want to explore. So I challenge them to take that a little deeper. So if I was your fairy godmother and I can wave a wand, the world was yours, what would you really do? And then
Yeah.
it became, well, I would pursue singing and music, or I would pursue acting and comedy. So
Yeah.
what's stopping you from doing that? Like, let's talk
Wow.
about that. So
Yeah,
we
true.
started to deep dive and then we started to dream about what kind of house would you want? What kind of car would you want? 10 years from now, what do you see? 10 years from now, what kind of car are you driving and what kind of house are you pulling up to? Are you married? Do you have children? And then I started getting them to look at the numbers. So that house, let's go on Zillow. How much does a house like that cost? How much would that be a month? That car, let's go on Google. How much is that car? How much would that be a month? And when I got them to calculate how much income they would have to generate monthly, it's reality now.
Yeah.
So how do you make your dreams reality? You can. But you got to know what you're striving for and you got to know what it's going to take to really get there. So this is the kind of income you would need to generate to have this life of your dreams. And so they started feeling like, oh man, that's impossible. Oh no, it's possible. So who's
Mhm.
already doing that? And then they would say Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson. I forget the person my other goddaughter said. And I'm like, so let's Google their net worth. Can they afford that lifestyle that we just calculated? Yes. So what makes them different? The
Yeah.
only
Wow, that's
difference is
beautiful.
hard work and dedication. My baby girl, she said, "Well, Beyonce got to where she is because of her beauty." And I had to push back. No, Beyonce didn't get to where she is because of her beauty. There's a
Mhm.
lot of beautiful women who can sing who are not
Yeah.
where Beyonce is. Beyonce got to where she is because of her work ethic.
Good. That's so good. Man, I think I have to do it to myself. I don't think I ever thought of like I have right here right in front of me my dream
Yep.
goals, like my goals on a paper,
Yep.
my poster. But that's so true. Like maybe we should start adding like the price it will take to
Yep.
get there.
You got to know the numbers.
Yeah, that's
You
so
got to
good.
know the numbers.
Dang. Are you sure this is a sidebar? I can put it.
You can do whatever you want, Amber. You know I
Okay.
love you.
You're the best. You're the best.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Our next question. So, pretty much, I think you kind of answered it, but what advice would you give to professionals in what they do or finance to feel who feel successful on paper, but they are not fulfilled in their purpose? So, what advice would you give to them?
So that was me. So I'm actually glad that I shared that story. So when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was a branch manager, I was showing up to work every day miserable.
Mm,
I hated my job. I am not a sales driven person. I'm not motivated by meeting monthly goals,
Yeah.
And honestly, it took a toll on my health. I started losing weight, I was becoming irritable. Even my customers started to notice that my whole countenance had changed. Like, you're
Wow.
not as happy as you used to be, And it was
Right.
really because, yes, I was making money, but I did not enjoy what I was doing. I hated it. I dreaded it. I
Mhm.
spent my whole Sunday dreading what Monday was going to be, right?
Right.
And so when I made the transition from being an employee to being an independent contractor, I didn't do it for money. I actually took a pay cut,
Yeah.
but I was willing to take that pay cut to have the fulfillment that I needed. And so, yes, I think that a lot of people deal with that, where professionally on paper, you look wonderful because maybe you're making the income you want, you're living the life you want, but you're not being fulfilled by it. I see that as a fork in the road moment where you then have to start exploring, what are you fulfilled by? What fulfills you? What makes your heart smile? Because the key to life is figuring out what you enjoy and then figuring out how to make money. Because you can make money off of what you enjoy. You just got to figure it out. You got to invest time in it. And so
Yeah.
if you invest time in figuring out, wow, how can I get in this lane of what I enjoy and actually make money so I can move away from this life that I really don't want, even though it looks successful on paper.
Yeah, that's so good.
And that's another thing I was sharing with and it's so funny. I don't believe in coincidence. So that's another thing I was sharing with my kids last night in the activity
Mm.
is how can you have the practicality that you called out and your dreams at the same time? You really can do it. I gave them the example of me and my sister. So my sister, her primary job is insurance adjuster. She's made a lot of money doing that. But
Mm.
her passion is content creation. And so my godchildren really believe that my sister has grown to the lifestyle she has because of content creation. I said, no, she didn't. She developed that lifestyle, which my sister lives a good lifestyle because of the income she generated from being an insurance adjuster. Content creation is actually her side hustle. That's her
Yeah.
joy, that's her passion, but that's her side hustle. She's trying to position herself that her side hustle becomes her main hustle.
Yeah.
And in the
Smart.
meantime, she's juggling both. And I'm doing the same thing because I'm passionate about training and development. I have a
Mm.
full-time job doing training and development, but I also have Keisha Smith Consultant. I'm
Yeah.
juggling both until I figure out how to make my side hustle my main hustle.
Main hustle. Yeah.
So you can have both.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. Thank you. And our next question. So I know you've worked with people, money, and systems. Have you seen a connection between financial intelligence and emotional intelligence in leadership?
Financial intelligence and emotional intelligence. So when we say financial intelligence,
Mhm.
what comes to mind for me is a financially intelligent person first and foremost has obtained some level of financial literacy.
Right, right.
That means someone has pulled them aside and explained to them money. And unfortunately, the average person has never gotten that. And, that actually makes me sad sometimes that the
Yeah.
average person has not gotten basic financial literacy, even successful people. You have people that I've run across that make six-figure salaries. Like I've taken loan applications for people who make over $200,000 a year and they're still broke. So
Wow.
what I learned in banking is that six figures does not mean that you're financially stable. I've also had people who make $30,000 a year who are able to send their kids off to college. Like,
Wow, that's
what's
so
going
good.
on there?
Right,
To
right.
me, one person is financially literate and the other person is not financially literate. So, financial intelligence, in my opinion, comes with financial literacy. You have to really understand money, how it works. And emotional intelligence is really just understanding the impact you have on others. So, oftentimes, people who lack an emotional intelligence, they don't realize the impact their behavior have on other people. And in my classes, the example I give, have you ever been to a party or a get together and you have that uncle who is really rubbing everybody the wrong way, but he
Yeah.
doesn't realize he's rubbing everybody the wrong way because he lacks emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So, how does the two come together? I think the two comes together with self-awareness. You have to become self-aware about where you are financially. And that goes back to knowing your numbers, facing the truth about where you are financially, getting the support you need in the realm of financial literacy. And the same is true for emotional intelligence. You have to first become self-aware about how you show up and how that impact other people, and then work to self-develop.
That's so good.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
you're welcome.
And for our next question, so I work for a property management company, right? Like for
Mhm.
my morning job. So I just kind of want to ask this question. For those leading teams in housing, property management, or client services, what banking habits could strengthen leadership and culture in those spaces?
I don't know that it's banking habits, but this is what
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you. So, at one point in my career, I actually did underwriting in banking, and I was charged with underwriting large commercial loans, like large millions of dollar loan requests. And
Okay.
even outside of underwriting commercial loans, even underwriting personal loans, what
Oh,
people
wait,
don't
pause.
realize that we look
Pause. I'm
at in
sorry, you're
banking
breaking
is
up.
we actually look at character. Yeah, character. So when you think about character, it's shown in your credit report.
Really?
I'm sorry to laugh, but your character from a banking thing is actually shown in how you manage your credit. It gives us insight in who you are as a person. So
Wait,
how
Miss
the two
Keisha, I'm gonna
tied
pause.
together? What I say can
Wait, Miss
sting
Keisha, I'm gonna pause
sometimes.
you right there.
Yes.
I have to pause you right there because I think you were breaking up and we missed half the story, at least on my
Okay.
side.
No problem. You want to
I'm
start
so
from the
sorry.
top?
Can you start over?
No, Amber, don't apologize. I saw it, but I kept going.
Okay, I got you. Please. Yes. Start over.
So you
If you
want to
can.
start by just asking me the question and then we move back into it. I will try to answer it the same way. I'll try my best.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, let me see. For those leading teams in housing property management or client services, what banking habits could strengthen leadership and culture in those spaces?
So, banking habits. This is going to come to a shock to some people, but in my
Mhm.
banking career, I was also charged with underwriting large commercial loans and even underwriting personal loans.
Yeah.
I think we used to call it the five C's, and one of the five C's is actually character. So
Mm,
when we pull someone's credit bureau, it gives us a sneak peek into their character, who they are. And I think that how we manage money speaks to who we are, our character. The
yeah.
same is true for how we network and cultivate relationships with people. Our character really drives our ability to be able to network and cultivate relationships with people. So I think the two goes hand in hand when you really think of the foundation as being your character, how you show up, how you show up financially, how you show up in life, what draws people to you and your character so that you can cultivate the relationships you need to cultivate. What is working character wise with your money and what's not working character wise with your money. So I would say the common denominator in both is just character.
Yeah. That's so good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you answered this question,
Yep.
but pretty much it's the one challenge you faced in your banking career that pushed you to grow as a leader, and how did you overcome it?
One challenge I faced in my banking career that pushed me to grow as a leader is being underestimated. How do I tell this story? So, when I earned my business degree, I was working for a bank that had a management training program. And once you earn a business degree, you were able to apply for this management training program. I was in my 20s. It was a very extensive application process and interviewing process. You literally interviewed all day. So your interview started at 8, it didn't end until 4 o'clock in the evening. And you interview with all these different people. Even your lunch was an interview. Okay. They took you to lunch and they were still interviewing you. And what I learned in that moment is I went through that whole interview process and I had just earned my business degree and I had been working at the branches for years. So that wasn't my aspirations. My aspirations wasn't to be a branch manager. My aspirations was to really use this business degree I worked so hard for. So I really wanted to get into like our international department, our corporate department. I wanted to do something different. Right. And that's what I expressed in my interview. But the powers that be, they didn't see me that way. They saw me as a branch manager. So I didn't get into the program. and not getting into the program was like, wow, right? Like in your 20s, it's like, wait a minute, I have a perfect employee file, so much so that when I did the HR part of my interview, the guy, I'll never forget, he was like, who are you paying? And I was like, what do you mean, who am I paying? He was like, I have never seen such an impeccable employee file because I had been working for the company for 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
Yes, and I'm
Okay.
so I'm thinking, how can I get all these compliments, but at the end of this journey, they tell me I don't get in a program? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I was pissed.
Yeah.
So, long story short, a year went by. It was the time for the program to open again, and I had not found a job. So my regional manager pulled me aside and she was like, "They really want you to reapply for this program." And I was like, "But why would I do that? Why would I subject myself to a full day interview process again?" She was
Mm.
like, well, this is where corporate politics come into play. And she said, they see you as a branch manager. They don't see you working at the corporate level. They don't see you working at the international level. So if you go through this process and you express interest in being a branch manager, you will get in the program. Yeah. That's why I don't like corporate politics to this day.
Yeah. Like, how
It
does that?
sucked. It sucked. So the second interview, I had to say, yes, my life goal is to be a branch manager. And then miraculously, they accepted me into this program. And when I got in the program, this is what I learned. And I hate just putting this on blast, but it was what it was. So this was in New Orleans at the time. And New Orleans has this system. It's called a good old boy system. So you have these rich people who
Mhm.
get their kids into programs like this. So every person who was on the upper side of this program, who was a part of my group, they came from rich families. Yes.
Wow. And you were the only one that came in through just by merit, hard work, right?
Exactly. So
That's
I
amazing.
was considered lower middle class. All these other people that were in the program, I'm not kidding you, they were upper echelon. Like their parents earned a lot of money.
Yeah.
Their parents were networked into that bank, and
Yeah.
that's how they got where they were in the program. I had to go at the bottom. They didn't see me at that level. So, that was a heartbreaking reality that I think a lot of people have to navigate through and deal with as they are progressing. And I would say when people underestimate you, for me, when I'm underestimated, it causes
Mhm.
me to want to prove you wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a gateway into our next question, actually. How can women, especially Black women, leverage their financial experience to lead confidently in male-dominated or traditional spaces?
I've heard this saying just in passing, scrolling through social media, and I believe it. Women are multipliers. We're
Yeah,
multipliers by nature.
that's good.
So leverage that. You can make $1 out of 15 cents as a woman. You have the natural ability to do that. And that's why you have so many women who are growing to CEO levels because they bring that to the table naturally, instinctively. Like that's just your instinct. So I would say lead with that. Lead with the fact that you are a multiplier. Like if you really put your head to something and if it's a numbers game, you already intuitively know how to multiply a number. And that's what it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
So leverage that.
So we naturally have it. That's
In
what
my
you're saying.
opinion, we do.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
good.
we're natural multipliers. Yes, do some of us do better than others financially? Of course.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I'm not just talking about money. I'm saying we bring life into the world. We take something and make something else out of it all across the board, not
Yeah,
just with money.
right.
So when we show up like that in business and we stand firm in the fact that we multiply, we have the ability to multiply, not just financially, across the board. And that's how we show up. I think that's what really lays the foundation for our success.
Awesome, thank you. And I think we're at our last one, man. Time goes by so quick. As somebody who transitioned from managing capital to developing people, what do you think is more valuable long term? Money or mindset, and why?
Mindset. Because until you have a mindset shift, you will never reap the reward that you want to reap. I think sometimes we are our only worst enemy. We stand in between us and success. So we have to be able to start to look at things from a different lens to
Yeah.
be able to truly get the life that we're envisioning for ourselves. The change have to occur inside of you. in order to be successful. So I would call mindset over everything. And listen, I struggle. You know, a lot of people have imposter syndrome and just feeling like I'm in this at this table, but do I really belong at this table? Some of us fear taking up space and voicing our opinion and what's on our mind. And I just think that, you know, that is the driver, like being comfortable in your own skin, knowing your own capabilities, standing firm in that. I think that's the driver. So mindset shift.
Wow, that's so good. And there you have it, guys. We're all done. Miss Keisha, let people know what's going on. What do you want to plug?
So right now what's going on with me is training and development. So what I do is my primary expertise is leadership training and development. So I work with companies to come in and actually customize leadership training program to really drive the performance of their leaders, which then trickles down to their direct reports and helps with the bottom line numbers. So I would say my leadership training right now is high on the chart. So I welcome the opportunity to come into organizations and train your leaders on how they can effectively influence and lead other people so that they can drive productivity for your company. So that's one of the big things right now for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And guys, I'll make sure to link it down below. So make sure to check her out. She is an amazing woman,
Oh, thank you.
always giving great advice. So make sure to check her out, guys. Thank you, Miss Keisha.
You're welcome, Amber. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll see ya.